welcome to this week's hashtag Toe to Toe. I'm delighted to say that this week we're joined by boxing writer Melanie Lloyd and Spencer Fearon. A real pleasure to have you both here today. Melanie, I don't even know where to start really. 25 odd years you've been involved in boxing.
Yeah.
What's the earliest memory for you?
My earliest boxing memory?
Yeah.
Well, I was in a party in Chessington and they were watching Mike Tyson and Trevor Burbeck on some weird and wonderful satellite system next door. And I wandered in there to have a look. And within 6 minutes, I was like, my life had changed.
What was it, do you think?
Oh, but like I say, it was like the first time. Say you've ever seen a runner for the first time, you say Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Or the first time you ever see a racehorse and you see Red Rum. Well, if you can imagine, the first fighter I ever saw was Mike Tyson. And as he was then, you couldn't have got more electric than that. You know, in the second round, when he put Burbeck down with that left hook, 3 times with the same punch.
Yeah, he gets up, falls back down, gets up, falls back down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that
Poor
November 1986?
86.
Yeah, 1986, November 1986.
I think it was the 22nd. I'm being
no, it was actually.
now.
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah. And,
see how this one's going to go. She's going to go you.
And yeah, it changed my life. You know, I didn't become a holistic boxing fan. I was a Tyson fan. I wanted to know everything about Tyson, but there was no internet in those days. It was the dark old days, and so I used to go to the books, to the library, and get books out about all the different fighters and read about them, and I was very hungry for knowledge, and gradually I got more and more into it. And then in the mid-90s I joined my local boxing club, not as a fighter, as a writer. I became their press secretary, and I was with them then.
What club was that?
The Foley, ABC in Claygate.
Okay, Paul Miles.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Paul Miles.
Small world.
Yeah. We
So-
boxed 3 times as amateurs.
Did you?
Yeah,
Oh, God.
So then the writing came.
Well, see, I started writing before I joined the boxing club, right? But then when I joined the boxing club, I got so involved with that, the writing sort of got put on the back burner. Because once I get involved with something, I just get completely involved with it. So basically, that's why all my Sweet Fighting Man books took so long to write, because I was always busy. Like the Foley, it was an amazing place. It was an old stable building on the side of a pub, and it would not be allowed today in a million years, right? I don't think I'd have seen a lick of paint since the horses left. It had this rickety old staircase that went up to the hayloft, which is where they had the heavy bags. And the amount of people I saw come down that staircase on their backsides.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was slick with sweat. It was like a jungle in there, yeah. And the first night I ever walked in, I sat outside in my mini metro. I had 140,000 miles on the clock. It was my first car, and I chain smoked for 20 minutes to get the courage to walk in. And I walked in and I just went, wow. There were 2 boys sparring. The place was full of trainers and dads. The big boys were upstairs. The ceiling was going like this. I just forgot to be scared, you know. And that night, there was a lad called Tommy Eastwood there, and he was about 17 at the time, and he was prowling around the place in bare feet. He had a dinky little pair of orange shorts on, mop of black hair. He looked like Mowgli's odd case cousin, you know what I mean? Right? And Tommy was a gypsy, so he was always coming back and forth. And then he went professional.
Former Southern Area Cruiserweight champion.
Right, yes. And then, so by then my first book was finished, and I was making inroads into the professional side of it. So Tommy wanted me to help him. So I rode shotgun with him then for 6 years throughout his career, and we're still great mates today. So
do you know what, Melanie?
He fought Junior McDonald, didn't he?
Yeah,
he beat Junior McDonald for the 7
They
title.
sparred a few times.
And Junior McDonald always got the better of him,
Yeah.
but come fight night, Tommy
He was
the guy.
laughing. I loved Junior, but he was laughing at Tommy, wasn't Tommy? Well, Tommy showed him, didn't he?
We have had a fair few questions come in.
Okay.
I'm very much looking forward to today. I feel like we're going to get some good stories.
Thank you.
Mark says, Melanie, who is the most charismatic boxer or coach you've ever met?
Oh, God, I think if I started picking them out, I'd get myself in trouble because there's so many.
Who struck you the most?
I'll tell you a story about trainers. the first time I ever went into a professional boxing gym, it was the first man in my first Sweet Fighting Man book, and it was Jimmy Tibbs, right? And I live in Surrey, and Hackney has got a very bad reputation. And people were saying, you can't go to Hackney, you mustn't go to Hackney. Some bloke said to me, my wife's friend got mugged 3 times in the same street in Hackney. And I said, well, tell her to stop going to that street then, because I'm getting this interview, right? So I went to interview Jimmy. I was in the next Lewis College about 20 years ago. We had a great time. And then as
Clapton, that was,
yeah. And as we were leaving, because Jimmy had been telling me all about the fact that he was a born-again Christian, and I didn't have any faith then. I have now, but I didn't then. And as I was leaving, Jimmy says to me, Mel, I'm sure he, meaning the big he, is going to prove himself to you soon. I said, oh, that'll be nice then, Jim, you know. And I went off. And I was coming to, the hill where you come down, right down to Lower Clapton. And it was getting dusk. It was about 4 o'clock. And I was just up there, and this blooming gang came down that hill, man. Oh, my heart's going now. They covered the whole road, and the way they were walking, and they were so intimidating, and I just knew they were trouble. And I remember thinking, Jimmy, if he is going to prove himself to me, now would be a blooming good time. You know? And with that, I swear to God, they turned around and they walked away.
No.
Serious. And it was cold, and I didn't have gloves on. And I actually had to steady myself on the wall. And when I think back, I can still feel the concrete on my hand, you know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know how you'd explain that, but...
That's special. Boxing Digital says, are you considering writing another book? If so, what or who would be the focus? And I know you've just spoken about how long it takes you to write a book. It's several years, isn't it?
Well, writing books takes over your life. Writing James Cook's book definitely took over my life. I mean, that man's taken over my life for 25 years anyway.
In a good way, I'm sure.
In a good way, definitely. But I haven't got any focus, any plans at the moment to write a book. I'm just writing articles and just kicking back. But
what about the subject next door to you?
well, I've got no doubt that
That's a good 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. About 25.
I've got no doubt that there will come a time, probably in the not too distant future, when suddenly I get an idea that can't be ignored, and but I haven't got any definite plans at the moment. Just articles, which I like to share on Twitter with everybody.
Norman says, which fight that you have seen and written about is your favourite and why? I'll
tell you one of my all-time favourite fights. I think it was either 2000 or 2001. Colin Dunn and Billy Schwer.
Incredible fight.
Right. Wembley Conference Centre. Just an amazing fight. I was at ringside. I remember I was talking to my friend at ringside. We were shouting at each other and we couldn't even hear each other because of the noise.
Yeah, standard. Yeah.
And both, the fans were great. There was no, wasn't like sometimes you get nowadays where there could be altercations. There was nothing like that. They were just having a singing contest, and it was just, and the fight, oh my God. It was just, it was electric from beginning to end. Neither man took a backward step. It was a split decision, and it was a shame that somebody had to win it. It was a shame it couldn't have been a draw. Although Colin Dunn will say, no way, that was a split decision, and Billy Schwer will say, I should have won. So the next day, they were both at the Boxing Board of Control awards lunch, and I remember, I can't remember which eye it was, but one of Billy's eyes was like completely swollen shut. Imagine after a fight like that, going to an awards lunch the next day. A lot of boys would have been in hospital or
absolutely,
in bed.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was definitely my favourite, I think. Because also I wrote about it with them both, because I wrote about Colin in my first Sweet Fighting Man, and Billy Schwer was in my third one, the Ring of Truth volume. So they both got to speak about it and give their own perspective about it as well. So that was quite fun, yeah.
What about you, Spencer? What's your favourite fighting moment?
Favourite fighting moment would have to be when Lloyd Hunnigan beat Donald Curry. What was that? September 1986. That's my favourite fight. That's my ever, because nobody gave Lloyd Hunnigan a chance. He was a massive underdog, and Lloyd Hunnigan was from South London. He lived literally down the road from me, and he went and he give it to Lloyd. He give it to Donald Curry, who was ranked at the time pound for pound best fighter in the world. So to me, that was because it was like somebody that you vaguely knew, and then I really got to know Lloyd a lot. And then like I remember Lloyd came to school in his Rolls Royce and picked me up from school. Could you imagine? I was the talk of my school. Even now they still talk about it. Even the teacher, oh my God, do you remember when? Right. So to me, that was the most amazing thing ever.
You got some cool points for that.
I really did.
Andy says, everyone's still talking about AJ Ruiz, aren't they? What happens in the AJ Ruiz rematch? What do you think?
I think there was obviously something very wrong with Joshua that night. I don't think we'll ever know what it was. And I don't think we should know, because it's none of our business.
There are so many conspiracy theories.
And it's none of our business.
I'm not buying into it. I'm not buying into any of the conspiracy theories at all.
At the end of the day, it's none of our business, really, is it? Because it's AJ's business, whatever's going on private. I don't always hold with all this thing that everyone should know everything.
And he's handled it so well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's handled it beautiful.
Yeah.
But there was obviously something very wrong. I mean, the behaviour before the fight with the gum shield in the mouth was quite bizarre. And in between rounds, when the camera was in the corner, the exchanges were very strange. To me, AJ looked and sounded like an amateur novice in that corner. What do I do? What happened? You know, something was obviously very wrong. And I would say that as long as whatever it was can be eradicated, and we get the old AJ back.
Do you think big adjustments need to be made for the rematch?
I'm not sure. I mean,
whether that's physically or the team around him.
He's shown his vulnerabilities in quite a few fights. In the Dillian White fight, he showed it.
Klitschko.
In the Klitschko fight, in the Takam, he gave him more problems than we expected. But I believe that we're going to see what a story it will be if Joshua comes back and he regains his crown, like Lennox Lewis did with Azim Rahman.
The difference is this, and I'm being real, and AJ's my boy, everyone knows it, I love him. You cannot go back into a rematch doing the same things you did before thinking that you're going to get a different result. Now, I warn people, going to America is not the same because it's a different energy. It's not your home ground. When you've got people who are behind you in your corner, truly behind you, and it's on your soul, it raises you. Everyone, any fighter can tell you this, right? It's just like when you're at school and you get in trouble, but as soon as you see a teacher walk by, you get brave and you want to throw shots, right? It's exactly the same thing. Anthony Joshua needs to readjust. Anthony Joshua has done fantastically well on limited ability as a boxer. He's a fantastic athlete. Andy Joshua could do anything. Andy Joshua could play American football right now and be on the 49ers or on the Raiders. He could play basketball, he could play soccer. He is multifaceted. But when it comes to boxing, there's certain fundamentals that are lacking for the success that he's had because he's been naturally athletic and usually been faster and stronger than his opponents. But we've seen flaws right throughout. The Dillian White fight, you point, it gets caught with a left hook and he gets hurt in that. Flaws. And for a big guy, I would have him try and, he blocks shots, he doesn't ride shots. He needs to really go and learn how to ride things. I'd love for the old school champions, maybe someone like a James Toney, maybe someone like a Larry Holmes to be around Anthony Joshua. Or even a Klitschko, right? Because
you say about the going to America thing. Is this where someone like Tyson Fury, does he have the upper hand on that? He's gone to America, he's proved himself.
No, it's not the case of an upper hand of going to America. It's more to do with your mindset because now all of a sudden everyone's loving Tyson Fury. Hold up a second, just the other day he was one of the most hated people in boxing. So how Tyson Fury has turned that around. I'm trying to say Anthony Joshua is being loved, but you have to understand this, that people love you when you're winning.
Of course they
When
do.
things go wrong, as you say that you're an illegitimate child. That's what happens. This is human nature. Now, fair play to Anthony Joshua, he hasn't made no excuses. So therefore, when you say, because he's something wrong, I'm not making no excuse for Anthony Joshua. He lost to the better man. I always knew that Andy Ruiz could fight. End of story. You never follow a puncher. George Foreman says, never follow a puncher. Watch the fight. Andy Ruiz was the guy that was aggressing with shots was walking forward to a known, noted puncher like Anthony Joshua. So if he thinks to himself, well, I could take these shots now in a rematch, if Anthony Joshua doesn't make fundamental changes, then we could see a repeat.
So what Andy says, will he win the rematch? And Ross wants to know, if he loses, is that it?
No, it's not. No, it's not it. This is what I'm trying. When we was, it's down to the individual. If Anthony Joshua really wants to come back and relishes the challenge, I believe that Anthony Joshua will win the return. Right?
Wouldn't that be a great story?
No, he's gonna. I believe that he's gonna win the return. Right, exactly. If we look through history on heavyweights that have been knocked out and have come back and won back their title.
Floyd Patterson
did it in Ingemar Johansson 59. He lost the title. Then he won it back in 60. Yeah. Right. Joe Louis, even though he went for a world title, but Joe Louis got knocked out by Max Schmeling. Yeah. Max Schmeling at the time.
Sorry,
did you? Well, yes, I like that. Right. Versus Max Schmeling, but when they fought for the world heavyweight title, right. Joe Louis annihilates him.
Oh, one round, broke his vertebrae, everything.
Right, made him scream in the corner. Right, so it's not that he can't do it. Yes, he can do it, but the major thing is that you shouldn't have allowed that slip up to happen in the first place. When Lennox Lewis lost his world title, Lennox Lewis, when he got knocked out by Hassan Ratman, Lennox Lewis, he was winning the fight, but then there's stories everyone knows that he was on film crews and he was doing all kind of things.
Can I interrupt? Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say that in the lead up to the Joshua fight, you were watching him, he's endorsing all these different products. They're filming him walking out of the sea looking like a supermodel, and I'm thinking, Joshua, what are you doing? You should be thinking about the fight. You know what I mean? You shouldn't be discounting that. You should be focused.
But in his defence, isn't that all just part of brand Anthony Joshua? That is stuff that comes with the success that he has.
Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe it shouldn't.
Right.
That's a whole different argument, isn't it? Of managing the time.
I'm just saying, Anthony Joshua can come back. Anthony Joshua needs to sit down and really watch boxing. And there's no disrespect to his crew as well. His team around him, they're his mates, right? But they're not. There's no boxing people.
No.
Your mates. Listen, when I'm sitting down, I like sitting around boxing people so we can debate boxing for 2-3 hours. Ed Robinson's wife hates me when I call him because we're going to talk boxing forever. So that's what he needs. He needs it's embedded inside you. Unfortunately, he hasn't got that. But I hope that he gets that on his team, and then when he gets that on his team, he's going to see things differently.
What about Fury then, after his victory over Tom Schwartz the weekend? Charles wants to know, who should Fury fight next and why? And Mark, I guess we can roll these into two. Should Fury be fighting people outside the top 10?
Well, he's well ensconced in America now, isn't he? He's got Showtime behind him and ESPN and everything. And I was reading, they're talking about either Pulev or blooming babyface Miller.
Yeah.
God, the world's mad.
Why did you even mention that? I don't mention that guy. I don't even like that guy.
Myself,
right, right, we can't have it.
But I mean, that's how mad it is. You know what I mean?
Who do you think he should fight next?
Well, it's obvious I'd like to see him fight Deontay Wilder in a rematch. You know what I mean? I loved everything about that fight. I loved from the moment when Wilder beat that Polish chap, forget his name, but he beat him and Tyson got in the ring and Tyson was starting to put on weight then and they were like, I thought they were going to start kissing. and the whole lead up to that fight, I just loved it. And it was even better because I won £330 on
well, that always makes it sweet.
I had £10 on the draw, 33-1, yes. Right? But I really did. But I'll tell you something. When I saw Tyson walking down the ring in America last week and he's dressed as Apollo Creed, made me laugh because I think sometimes he's modelling himself more on Clubber Lang. You know what I mean? He's like the bad guy. I don't think he is a bad guy. I think I interviewed him years ago.
I think
we had a great
he's
time.
a character, right?
We had a great time, yeah. He is a character. Who should he fight next? I'd love to see, obviously, the obvious one is Deontay Wilder. I mean, let's face it, AJ getting beaten has put the cat amongst the pigeons. It's freed everything up. I mean, Dillian White.
You just took, that's what I was going to say. I think that he should fight
Dillian White.
He should fight Dillian White next.
Yeah, because he's out in the cold, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
He don't deserve to be. You know what I mean? He's,
He's earned enough money to get a nice. I'd like him to fight Dillian White. I really would like him to see that. I'd love to see that fight. I'd like to see that fight here, because Dillian White is a top flight heavyweight contender. I would say that Dillian White is the 4th best heavyweight in the world, and Dillian could argue and say he's the 3rd best. Dillian White, I'd like that. But Pulev is a good fight.
Yeah.
bottom line, Pulev is a good fight, and I think they could pull that to happen. Right now, Tyson Fury would be a handful for anyone to beat.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And he rightly so. He's ranked #1 heavyweight in the world by the Ring magazine, and how he's turned his life around. That man is just a true inspiration to anyone.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we've just scratched the surface today. We've got plenty more to discuss in the podcast. Don't forget that is available on iTunes later on today. Thank you very both for now.
Thank you.
We shall see you next week.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.